Hi, friends. I wanted to go over some of the issues that I noticed on the fraction group quiz last week. And we're going to start with subtracting and adding mixed numbers. So, let's think about what you need to know when you are adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So, here I have 3 bananas and 3 apples. And if I said, what is 3 apples plus 3 bananas? What would you tell me? Some of you might say, because we've talked about this before, 6 pieces of fruit. Yep. The only way to add things together is to have common units, okay? So these are apples and these are bananas. So when I am adding fractions, this fraction is called a third. It's a unit fraction. It's 1 unit of 1/3 of a whole. Okay, so each one of these is 1/3, but I only have shaded 1/3. And these fractions down here, what do they represent? Yeah, fourths. So I have 1/4. Each one of these represents a fourth. There are 4 holes or 4 parts in this whole, but I only have 1/4 of them shaded. So if I were to add the 2 shaded parts together, I'd have 1/3 plus 1/4. Actually, you know what? I'm going to write it the other way. It'll be easier. I have 1/3 plus 1/4. Okay. Now, it's pretty hard to see exactly where that would be on here. So the only way I can figure out how to solve it is if I make them have a common unit. In other words, a common denominator. So I have to figure out what is their least common multiple, or what is a multiple they have in common. So if I were to think about my 3's, I could say 3, 6, 9, 12. And if I were to think about my 4's, I could say 4, 8, 12. I know many of you knew that. The least common multiple is 12. This isn't really a ratio table. I was just skip counting down to keep track. 12 is the smallest number they have in common. So I need to figure out what I can do to turn both of these fractions into 12ths. So what does that look like visually? So if I take my thirds, all of them, and I split them into fourths. So now each one of those thirds is split up into 4 pieces. So now I have 12 pieces, right? 3 sets of 4 equals 12. Okay. So how many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 twelfths. Well, yeah, that makes sense because 3 times 4 equals 12. And 1 times 4 equals 4. So then what about my fourths? Well, if I need to have 12 pieces on the bottom rectangle as well, I can split them into thirds. If I split each fourth into thirds, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 equal size pieces. It's like multiplying 4 by 3 and 1 by 3. I scaled it by 3 to get 3 twelfths. And 4 twelfths plus 3 twelfths equals 7 twelfths. Let's make sure that matches our picture. I had 4 twelfths here. I had 3 twelfths here. So, yep, it matches the picture. So, subtract and add mixed numbers. These are just fractions, but I'm going to show you it works for mixed numbers as well. You need to have the same denominator. Okay? So if I was adding 2 and a fourth plus 3 and a third and I was actually adding means put together. If I was adding them together, figuring out how many all together, there we go, trying to get my screen to move up. Well, I have 2 wholes plus 3 wholes. That's going to be 5 wholes. And then I can just change the fraction part to a common denominator. Well, I just did that up here, and so I know this is going to be 3/12. And this part is going to be 4/12. So all together, I would have 5 and 7/12. So when I'm adding, just like when you add decimals or whole numbers, you can add them in parts. I'm going to add the whole numbers first, and then I'm going to add the fractions with the same denominator. Hopefully your notes look clearer than this at this point. Okay, now let's talk about multiplying and dividing.